Boar's Head invites you to enlighten your senses. Introducing Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken. Inspired by Japanese master chefs, our signature teriyaki glaze is crafted with garlic, ginger, and a hint of brown sugar, then paired with our tender, slow-roasted chicken breast for a flavor that's sweet, savory, remarkably bold. Boar's Head Ichiban Teriyaki-style chicken, the bold flavor of Japan, now at the deli. Compromise elsewhere.
Blog Talk Radio.
We inspire network. It's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We inspire network. It's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We inspire We inspire network. It's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We inspire network. It's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration.
Good evening. Tonight, I want to officially welcome you to the launch of We Inspire Network Radio, WIN Radio. Our motto, through God, we inspire one another to win. We are broadcasting live today to premiere the first of two of many shows on WIN Radio, I.R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, where I am the hostess with the mostest. And we endeavor to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as recovery just for today with host Lloyd B. and his dad, Lloyd Bell Sr., where they share experience, strength, and hope with those who are in recovery and those who are still in the struggle. Fellas, can I get an amen and a whoop whoop?
Amen. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Amen.
This is official. So, like I said, we are coming to you live and in effect at WIN Radio, and it is a celebration. God is doing some marvelous things, and we are exceedingly glad to be a part of it. Well, tonight's topic is the correlation between child abuse and addiction. Now, what exactly is the correlation then? I'm excited about tonight's topic because we fitting to set some folks free up in here, okay? The light bulb is going to go off for many, whether it is the addict, the family, friend, or coworker of an addict. There will be an epiphany, an injection of hope, because we are going to share some education and some solutions so that we can break bondages. And so for those who have heard my show in season 1, you know I have to always start with some statistics to kind of set the stage for our discussion. So let's talk about that. When I first of all speak of child abuse, I'm referencing the following areas: neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse, which includes rape, and mental, emotional abuse. Now, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, the NIDA, states that those who have suffered child abuse are more likely, 3 times more likely, to have used marijuana, 6 times more likely to have used cocaine, and more than 10 times to have used heroin and amphetamines, the harder drugs, intravenous. These are survivors who have unresolved childhood trauma. Now, there is a study out there, and again, I've referenced this in my show a lot of the times. I even referenced it in my book, I.R.E.I.G.N, A Survivor's Guide to Thrive, which is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Had to put that little push in there. But the adverse childhood experience that's called the ACE study, and it started in 1985 by Dr. Folletti. And he notes that not only are some of these survivors using drugs and alcohol to cope with the emotional pain of abuse, but child abuse can cause neurobiological underdevelopment of some body systems, while it also creates hyperdevelopment in others. For example, I just want to kind of throw this out there. Dr. Folletti states the following: those who have gone through child abuse and has not resolved the issue, they are 250% more likely to smoke. Okay, that same group with unresolved childhood trauma, there's a 500% likelihood, propensity towards alcoholism. Now get this, you're going to have to hold your hat on this one. For IV drug use, you're looking at 4,600% increase in the probability of someone becoming addicted to drugs who have unresolved childhood trauma, childhood abuse. And so those are some staggering numbers. Why is that piece of information so important? First of all, if we're going to talk about recovering from addiction, we also have to understand that addiction sometimes is a symptom of something greater, something deeper going on in the person. So we can't just constantly try to find something for the symptom to relieve the symptom, but we have to get to the root of it all. And so that's what we're going to have some discussion today, and about how to really identify the root of it, if it is child abuse, then what can we do to make sure that we talk about and get some resolution with the child abuse, the past childhood abuse, and then talk about the getting out of and recovering addiction. Gentlemen, what do y'all have to say about some of those staggering numbers?
Well, this is Lloyd B. And first of all, I just want to say I'm super excited and wonderful job with the introduction as well as the statistics, Minister Annie Bell.
Thank you.
Well, the statistics are very eye-opening, okay?
Yes.
They will actually probably be the first time this will probably be the first time some have even heard of such things that we're bringing to the table today. So what I'd like to say is I believe that awareness is crucial. That's why shows such as this are so important, because without awareness, people are left in the dark. They are stumbling around trying to find a solution, or either just continuing to go along the vicious cycle and not knowing, what is the root problem. So shows like this that bring awareness are crucial, because awareness will ultimately determine your approach to how you're going to get out of that situation, how you're going to address the situation. So that's my first point that I'd like to make.
And that's a great point too.
Yes, it definitely is. This is Lloyd Sr. I want to thank Lloyd B. and Minister Annie Bell, my daughter-in-law, for allowing me to tag along with them tonight on this groundbreaking show about the correlation or link between addiction and child abuse. I was thinking when they came up, they presented this topic that it's definitely a link between the two. Because I was thinking to myself, my experience, I really didn't grow up in alcohol or drug home. My mom and dad didn't drink or smoke or anything like that, But I had aunts and uncles who did, and and a little older. When I got older, I went around. I was around families who drank and smoked and used drugs, and so my thing is this, to say that once you introduce alcohol and drugs into the picture, then all bets are off. Anything can happen. That's where you come into situations where children are neglected, and when the parents are impaired, anything can happen to the children. That's the direct link that I see. I was talking to Lloyd B. earlier today, and I was about this incident that happened, and it was on the internet, Facebook, and it's been viral. A case in Ohio where a couple passed out that OD'd on heroin, and the little child was in the back seat of the van. I mean, this is the personification of the link of drug abuse, addiction, and child abuse. That child was left. Can you imagine? Both parents. I guess they were, the kid's parents. Both of them were, they were zonked out. Can you think the abuse? Just think about the abuse that the child could have been going through, or had been going through all along, because they just weren't there. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, to make a long story short, is I see the link, and it's definitely a need for more shows like this to bridge those two genres together, so we can come up with a concrete solution for this devastating problem.
And I saw that article, Dad, and I'm sorry, Lloyd Sr. And but
no problem.
I saw that article, and the first thing that came to mind was that's neglect, which again,
yes,
as I said earlier, that's a form of child abuse. It's also child endangerment, because they were on the highway, and he when he passed out, he bumped into another car, which could have caused a fatal accident.
Yes.
And because they actually OD'd. They didn't die, but they OD'd. And dysfunction is a form of trauma, a severe family dysfunction. And to have two addicts in the family who are addicted to drugs and not knowing, what their causation was, but there is a high probability of that 4-year-old to grow up, because of the correlation, to grow up with some form of addiction, drug addiction or alcohol addiction as well. And I'm sorry, Lloyd B., were you about to say something?
I was.
No, he was.
And no, I actually, I wanted to say that Lloyd Sr. made some great points, because the link between childhood abuse and addiction, if left unchecked or unaddressed, not only can cause such problems as the one that you mentioned, but it also can hinder those who are trying to find recovery or those who are trying to get healing. Yes. Because, a lot of times what happens is people don't address those underlying issues.
Yes.
That Minister Annie Bell was talking about, because one, they aren't aware that, doctors a lot of times are not using tools such as, like Annie was talking about, the ACE or the ACE program, where they actually, the ACE study, where they actually have 10 different categories where, people are, if you fall under 6 of those categories, then you have a higher propensity to fall into that category of, addiction or some type of behavior or disorder that may lead to you being on the self-destructive path. So,
Wow.
So a lot of times if this childhood abuse and addiction correlation is not addressed, it can hinder even the possibility of individuals like that getting help.
Yes.
So that's another reason why programs such as this or radio shows such as this are very important.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think we have to get ready to take a break, but go ahead.
No. Okay. I'll just say this after the break because it's hot. I can't.
You say you want to save it?
Yeah,
you say you want to save it after the break?
Yeah, it's hot. It's hot.
Okay.
But I can hold it.
Okay. I take your word for it. We're going to go. Okay. Go ahead, BJ.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break for station identification. When we come back, we'll talk more about the topic, the correlation between child abuse and addiction. You guys stay tuned. Hello, my name is Minister Lloyd Bell Jr., CEO of I R.E.I.G.N Network Radio.
God bless you, and I am Minister Annie Bell, the COO of We Inspire Network Radio. We had you, our listeners, in mind when we created We Inspire Network Radio, or as we like to call it, WIN Radio.
We incorporated your thoughts and opinions to ensure that our programming will embody true inspiration.
And we will continue to bring relevant and heartfelt shows that cater to the needs and wants of our growing listener base.
Please subscribe to our network so that you can stay connected.
Join us here every week, where together, through God, we win.
Just for the day I won't pick up, just for the day I don't give up, just for the day I won't pick up, and God I trust I won't pick up, just for the day I won't pick up, just for the day in God I trust, just for the day I won't pick up, and God I trust I don't give up. Yeah, you can go and tell the weed man, he ain't got nothing that I need, man. I ride by that ABC store saying, hey, you won't be seeing me no more. Yo, you can go and tell the trap boy, yo, it's a rap boy. You are not welcome in me casa. You ain't got nothing for me nada. No matter how hard life hits, I know where my light is. Yo, no matter how hard the crisis, yo, I know who Christ is. Yo, no matter what I won't pick up. Yo, no matter what I won't pick up. No matter what I won't pick up. Yeah, no matter what I won't pick up. Just for the day. No matter what I won't pick up.
Yes. Welcome back, listeners, to our special premiere broadcast with I-R.E.I.G.N host, Minister Annie Bell, Recovery Just for Today host, Lloyd Bell Sr., and myself, Lloyd B., on the new Blog Talk Radio Network, WIN Radio. Prior to our break, we were discussing the topic, the correlation between child abuse and addiction. And right before break, my father and co-host, Lloyd Bell Sr., had a hot topic a point that he wanted to make, and he got cut short. So we want to go back to his point. So go ahead, Lloyd Bell Sr.
Well, I don't know how hot it is, but I do want to say, seriously, I want to say that I think that what fuels this monster of abuse and addiction is, I think the word is apathy or denial, a sense that what we do is that we deny actually that it's a problem. That is, I found it extremely interesting when I read the online comments, and the majority of the people were like, they were commenting, they were like, okay, so why don't you just throw them in jail, you know? Just put them in prison, okay? Just forget them and just that'll solve it, you know. And that's what, and that's I believe that's one of the worst things that you can do, because sure you'll get the people out of the picture, off the street, but if they don't get treated, okay, for that underlying issue, then they come back out and do the same thing again, you know. And a lot of times they sat in prison for year after year, and that thing it's not treated, it festers, and they just sit there and they just plot for years what they're going to do, you know, when they come out. And I think a lot of times, you know, I don't know this. I don't have any personal experience with like abuse or sexual abuse and anything like that. But I think people tend to tell people who go through sexual abuse, why haven't you gotten over that? You know, you know that happened years ago. You know, just let it go. You know, and that's the same thing with the with the drug addiction. If you don't treat that, it also sits there and festers, you know, and then that person might turn around and repeat or do something, you know. It's just so I guess what I'm saying, folks, is it's like a light bulb is going off in my head tonight. Is that I see the correlation here, and I definitely see the need again for us to have a show like this to really tackle this, you know. But I tell you, folks, the light bulb is really going off in my head tonight. It really is.
Yeah. And
was that hot enough for you, Lloyd?
Oh yeah. Can I say something, Minister Annie Bell, or did you have something?
Oh no. Go ahead. I was just going to agree with Senior.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to say is something that you usually talk about, Lloyd Senior, when we're online. When we're on live, you often talk about that elephant in the room.
Well,
you know, and you know, so whether we ignore the elephant in the room or not, it's not going anywhere.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
So, you know, one of the things that I had picked out is something that Minister Annie Bell had mentioned earlier from the National Institute of Drug Abuse report. They state that 2 out of 3 of all people in treatment for drug abuse report that they were physically, sexually, or emotionally abused as during childhood. That's two out of 3 of all people in treatment for drug abuse. Okay, that's only the people that reported it.
That's right.
So you have to take into consideration that the nature of this abuse, most people don't want to talk about it. So of course we're looking at 2 out of 3. So, you know, where it's saying that over 80% of people in drug treatment have suffered childhood abuse, the numbers could be a lot larger than that.
That's right.
Okay.
Wow.
So to piggyback on what you were saying about how people say just throw them in jail, this has been happening. It's not a philosophy or something that somebody is just spouting off as a idea. This is actual practice. This is what has been going on, because the jails. One study shows that the jails, 65% of all the inmates meet the requirement for addiction or substance abuse use disorder.
Wow.
That's over 65% of the inmates or have addiction problems. So if that's the case, what is that saying about our inmates? If 2 out of 3 of everyone that's in treatment facilities have been abused as children, so we're looking at a prison system that has a majority of inmates that have been either sexually abused, physically abused, or emotionally abused as children. And then the studies go on to say that only 11% of them are getting treatment out of the 65% of all the inmates that meet the requirement for substance use disorder or addiction.
That's scary. And in the year 2016, that's actually scary. You know, that's actually an older study, but the numbers have actually gotten worse.
It has. And they always give a very conservative number when it comes to abuse, like you said, especially for the demographics of men, because boys are less open about such violations. And so that number is, I think it's under what it truly is. And now they're saying that there's between 860,000 cases of child abuse annually. And so, but truly, if you look at all those others that are not reporting it, it's probably closer to 1 million children who are being abused. They're growing, and because they're not all getting the therapy that they need, they are trying to cope with it the best that they know how. And some turn to there's the coping mechanisms, or what I call survival responses. They can be positive or negative, but they're survival responses nonetheless. And so you have some who turn to drugs, alcohol, self-harm, anger, and for me, I was like I said, a control freak. Now, I did not. And a lot of people already know because of my show and my book that I was, too, abused as a child, sexually abused. And I did not turn to drugs and alcohol, but my survival responses was more control. I needed to control everything in my atmosphere. As I grew a little bit older and started working and had my own money, I actually became addicted to shopping. And I know sometimes people think that's a joke, but truly, I was shopping to relieve my pain. And so anytime I got something hurt me or I was uncomfortable, I had an urge to shop. It went from blouses to Mont Blancs, and then it went to Coach bags, and I was spending $400 a week on clothes. I was turning over my cars every year. I would get a brand new vehicle every year. And I was so upside down at one point that I had to get a second loan to pay off the car. So this addiction can really, go into different arenas, but unresolved child abuse, trauma it's cancerous. If we don't resolve it, it can take over our lives in not just the risky behavior, but neurobiologically, the diseases and disabilities that come along because all of the stress that is deposited into our bodies, with the toxic stress, the social issues. The other two categories, obstacle to spiritual development. I know for me, I hated God for the longest time. And anybody who wanted to preach to me about God, I would threaten either to fire them if that was within my power. I threatened my mom never to come over to her house again if she talked to me about Jesus one more time. And even self-perception. So you even have women, a lot of women with self-esteem issues, and then they turn to addiction and drugs and prostitution and all of that. So it truly is systemic to a lot of societal ails.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're making a lot of great points because,
Absolutely.
like my father said, his story is different, than mine, and most people that I have talked to as far as, in the rooms and, in different treatment facilities, one of the reasons why this is so important to me as a substance abuse counselor and a host of the Recovery Just for the Day show is because, if your treatment must address the possible underlying issues of childhood trauma. If it doesn't, especially if you were a victim of childhood trauma, Like Minister Annie Bell was saying, your body puts you in the way your body compensates for this trauma is it puts you in a state of constant being able to be anxious and the anxiety levels in the it helps you to cope in a way that you're stressed. Your body is stressed. So, like she said, you become physically sick. You can become physically sick along with, the behaviors that accompany these traumas. And like my father was saying, his story is different. My story is different. As far as his story. So in this particular setting where you have three different people who have had some type of struggle with addiction, two of the three that you're listening to have fall under the statistic that two of the three have been abused in their childhood. Myself. Hello?
Yes.
Yes, myself and Minister Annie Bell are the two. So the statistics aren't. We're not just spouting off statistics for the heck of it. These statistics are ringing true even as we speak. You're listening to three people who struggled with addiction in some way or another, and two of the three suffered childhood trauma.
We're right on target for a break here, folks. So we're going to take a break here now for station identification. And we're going to come right back and we're going to pick this thing up because it's getting hot and it's getting heavy and it's getting real.
Hi, my name is Lloyd B. And I am the host of Recovery Just for Today, which is a show dedicated to those who are struggling with addiction and substance abuse. I host the show with my father, Lloyd B. Sr., and together we come and we share our experience, strength, and hope. Every Monday at 8 p.m., join us as we air live on I.R.E.I.G.N Radio, which stands for We Inspire Network. If you or your loved one suffers from addiction or you know someone who is in recovery, please share this information because you never know when what you have to share may actually save someone's life. Thank you, and God bless.
Okay, welcome back to our special premiere broadcast.
Welcome back to I.R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
Amen. Okay, welcome back to our special premiere broadcast with I.R.E.I.G.N host, Minister Annie Bell. Recovery Just for Today hosts, Lloyd B. and myself, Lloyd Sr. We're powered tonight, this evening, by I.R.E.I.G.N Radio, through God inspiring one another to win. Right now, we want to play a sound clip from the actor Todd Bridges. Many of you remember him. He played Willis on different strokes. Hopefully, this clip will give us a better or more insight into this link between addiction and child abuse.
Caused me to start using them. Like I said, I was sexualized at 12 years old. My father was abusive, and I didn't know how to deal with that. And I thought that drugs would help me feel better. And what it did was temporarily took away the pain, but no one told me that I was going to become fully addicted and that I was going to lose everything behind it. And just like God, when He talks to you or He disciplines you, He shows you why the reason not to do something. And what made me stop was I got sick and tired of going through that pain and that suffering. And all drugs did was compound it and make it even worse. The drugs didn't. It helped it temporarily, for a short fix. but it wasn't a long-lasting fix, and that's why I had to stop. Well, what I hope is that anyone else who's struggling with the same kind of situation will, in my book, Feeling Willingness, find out how to really deal with it, and I hope that the victims, including myself, we stop blaming ourselves and start putting the responsibility of where it lies, which is on the actual molester, the guy who actually did it. Because a lot of people who get molested, we spend so much time on blaming ourselves and thinking that we deserved it or we put ourselves in that position, not realizing that we had nothing to do with it whatsoever. That was his sickness and not ours. But, so hopefully they get from this book is that how to learn to forgive yourself and in return forgive that guy. You don't have to condone what he's done, but you still have to somehow find a way to forgive him. Well, my advice for struggling with addiction is you have to somehow find out how to stop. When you find out how to stop, you have to learn how to forgive yourself. That's why this book is really important. People who are addicted, people who are not addicted, people who want to learn how to stay sober, people who want to learn how to get somebody off of drugs and alcohol. I really believe that, there's all kind of addictions in America. And what we seem to want to focus only on drug addiction. There's other addictions that are killing people just as fast.
And that was, again, Todd Bridges from Different Strokes. And I think if I remember correctly, he is the only living, main star or co-star of that show, because Dana Plateau, she died of drug-related complications as well, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, she did. She did. She got into a lot of different things. I think pornography, and if I'm not mistaken, she went down a wrong pathway quick. It was drug related. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
You're correct.
And then so
I know that the other little guy that played Arnold, what was his name? He's not Emmanuel, but what's that guy's name? He passed away as well. The one that used to say, "What you talking about, Willis?"
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't know if that was just medical complications or if it was actual.
I think he had He did have medical complications.
Yeah,
yes, he did.
Yeah, his kidneys were bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But that clip was hit right and hit the nail on the head.
Yes, it did.
About what we were talking about.
Yes. And I do want to thank, Todd Bridges for that candid interview and that candid, the book that he has written, very candid about what he went through with the abuse and how he turned to drugs in order to cope and to try to survive, but really in turn almost killed him. Because he was really down and out,
Yeah. And one of the things that, one of the points that major points that I wanted to bring across tonight was that two main things that I wanted to talk about was I want people to understand the reason why we do clips and things of that nature, and even why we share our experience, strength, and hope, is because we want you to know that you're not alone. Okay?
Amen.
There are people out here that are listening tonight who, for the first time, are hearing people talking about something that may have been taboo or swept under the rug, things that people don't often speak about. Okay? When you start talking about child abuse, you start talking about things that happened in your past, a lot of people want you to just keep it in your past and just keep it moving. But one of the other points that I wanted to make is that one of the things that we learn in support groups is that a saying that has rang true for so many people is that our secrets keep us sick.
Amen.
So a lot of times what happens is people try to sweep it under the rug and just continue on with life. They never learn how to cope with these feelings that, like Todd was talking about, overcoming shame and guilt. Shame and guilt are two of the things that will keep people sick and bound. because they never learn how to cope with and overcome it.
Yeah.
Because they're continually keeping a secret about what happened to them in the past. And until they actually address that or get to a person or a physician or a group or some type of treatment approach that addresses that, they continue to stay sick. What do y'all think about that?
I think you're absolutely right, and then what you need to do is to find a group that you're comfortable with, people who've gone through some of the things that you've gone through in the past. Meet with those and meet with them on a regular basis, and share your story. You'll find out that we're not the only ones that have been through stuff, and that's the only way we're going to overcome this thing is we've got to admit that there's a problem. Then we got to find some type of self-help support group to get into and really just talk about these things and bring them out and share them so you can heal. Otherwise, you're not going to heal. You're really not going to heal. And something Minister Annabelle said earlier about her addiction, and she said that people may think it's not an addiction, but we were always taught that an addiction is an addiction, whatever it is. The thing of it is, anything that gets you out of control, out of your normal life schedule or whatever, that puts you in a spiral, that's an addiction.
Yes.
You catch yourself, you're not supposed to be doing it. It may not be per se as detrimental as drinking or drugging, but in the long run, it is just as detrimental because it takes you down the path.
Right, and out of balance. And out of balance.
Yes, out of balance, right. So a lot of people, I mention that because a lot of people, I think, don't get help because they don't think they have a problem. They think, well, I just do a little shopping, or I just do a little gambling, But it will get you just as sick as anything else. And again, until you come to the point where you want to, come and get some help, you're just going to stay sick. And I can't say this. I've said it. This is the third time I've said it. I'm not going to say it again. This show, really and truly, folks, is a godsend because it connects two major problems in our country and in our world, and those two problems are abuse and addiction. They are linked. It's like playing ping pong. They play off the one plays off of the other. It's a cycle, and we really need to address it. And I really commend my daughter-in-law, Minister Annabelle, and my son, Lloyd Bell Jr. for tackling this much-needed problem tonight.
And we thank you. I want to say one thing, and I'll let you go, Minister Annabelle. We really can't take the credit for it because I believe this show was in the making, long before Annie and I even met, because, us being married and having gone through what we've have gone through and lived through what we lived through to be in a place today that she has a show about preventing and addressing child abuse and sex trafficking. And I have a show that I co-host with you, which covers addiction and recovery. This is nothing but God. To have joined two people together that have lived through traumatic experiences and have, just as the addiction and child abuse go hand in hand. You know, he linked Annie and I so that we could come together in unison and combat this thing. So, you know, this is something. This, like you said, it's a God thing. You know.
Amen.
Amen. And, you know, I agree with that. This was in the making. And I know one thing that that just kind of resonates with me a lot is what my husband said when we first, you know, we got married, and he, because I had actually overcome polio from the age of, I got polio from the vaccine when I was 3. And so I had a lot of surgeries. And when he saw my scars, he would run his fingers on my scars and said, "Oh my, you know, what you had gone through to get to me." And that still touches me because all of us who have gone through something, we have scars, and sometimes you can't see them. Some are visible and some are not, but we all have scars, and you've gone through those things and survived for a reason. And so I want to speak that into whoever is listening, is that you carry your scars and be proud of them, because that lets you know and the world know that you have survived that thing that was meant to kill you. So we're going to take a brief break right here.
You better preach. When we come back, you better preach, girl. You better preach.
Amen. So we're going to take a moment break for station identification, and we'll be right back.
Wow.
Hello, everybody. My name is Minister Annie Bell, and I am the host of I.R.E.I.G.N, blog talk radio show, where we endeavor to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as being the vehicle by which we use to bring awareness and resources to the community to aid in the prevention of these abuses. I.R.E.I.G.N, which is a declarative acronym for the individual survivor, that stands for I identify myself as a survivor, no longer a victim. R, reclaim my life. E, excel at living. G, grow in Christ. And N, nurture myself and others. This declarative acronym has developed into a victorious lifestyle brand that empowers and aids in the healing journey of survivors of abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas. I have also written a book entitled with the namesake, I.R.E.I.G.N, A Survivor's Guide to Thrive, which is now available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. Pick up your copy of my book today and join me here every Tuesday night at We Inspire Network Radio, where together, through God, we win. I'll see you on the air.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Tonight, this is our special premiere broadcast with I.R.E.I.G.N host, me, Minister Annie Bell, and Recovery Just for Today hosts, Lloyd B. and Lloyd Bell Sr. Prior to our break, we were just discussing how the fact that you are still here and that you have made it through, you're no longer a victim. You are a survivor of that thing that was meant to kill you. And you survive that thing, not just so that you can say you live, but that you can turn around and be a light for someone else, be the lifesaver for someone else and help them through. And so I hope that you will shine your torch and show your scar, that we may be able, others may be able to turn to you and find the strength and the inspiration to continue living. Now, in this part, as our last quarter of the show, we really want to talk more about, now that we've identified what the root problem could be of the addiction, we want to also talk about, well, what do we do with that? How do we, what are some solutions to that? And so some of the resources that are available, one thing that I do want to start out with is, I'm going to stay in my lane and talk about the therapy, but we have to retrain the brain. We have to be able to tell our brains that no longer are we, again, a victim, but we are survivors. And that because of the trauma that we went through, that was not our fault. And somebody needed to hear that. It was not your fault that you were abused. It was not your fault that Uncle Johnny Boy was attracted to little girls or little boys. It's not your fault. And so, but we have to tell ourselves and retrain our brain that there is no shame on us, that there is no embarrassment on us. It was someone else. Like Todd Bridges says, it was their sickness and not ours. There's also a resource, and I've talked about this through our broadcast tonight, is I did write a book, is I.R.E.I.G.N, a Survivor's Guide to Thrive. It's available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Pick up a copy. Pick up a copy and walk through those practical steps. Those steps were not ones that I created. Those are ones that God showed me so that I can begin to thrive in my life, because I was wielding out of control. I was about to end up in jail and become a statistic because I allowed that cancerous trauma to overtake me and almost took me down. I would also say that therapy that encompasses the recovery of both, not just the addiction, but the trauma, that speaks to the trauma that you've been through, such as STAR, which is what I use, is strategic trauma and abuse recovery therapy that I use for my clients. And it's a source-focused model for healing with the integration of biblical principles. And so that's what I would have to say. For those who want more information, connect with me, AnnieBellMinistries.com, also Facebook page, I.R.E.I.G.N, Stop Abuse and Abolish Sex Trafficking. Gentlemen, do you have anything that you would like to share as a possible source of solution?
To the addict, I would say this: find an NA meeting program or an NA program or an AA program. Make 90 meetings. Now, first of all, put the plug in the jug. This is textbook recovery talk here, Lloyd. Put the plug in the jug, and you can do it. You can do it. Put the plug in the jug. Go find an AA or an NA meeting. Make 90 meetings in 90 days. Find yourself a spiritual-based church or mosque or whatever you want to go to, and make the 90 meetings in 90 days. And that is because you want to go around and you're shopping around. You're looking for the best fit for yourself. Get in once you find that fit. Get in there, stay in there, and keep coming back.
Good.
Yeah, that is the one of the main things that suggestions that you will find in the support groups, recovery support groups, and it has worked for countless people. So it's well worth accepting that suggestion, and because it works. Believe me, it works. My suggestions. Since you covered that part. I am a substance abuse counselor, a addictions counselor, substance abuse counselor, but I am also specifically a Christian counselor. So a lot of the things that while my approach may incorporate or integrate various approaches and methodologies, my base is always going to be biblical and spiritual, in nature. So, I would suggest, to find a Christian counselor, if possible, because my stance is that a lot of times people don't they shy away from things that seem to be overly religious. So what I would say is that one of the main things of recovery support groups is that they emphasize a lot of spiritual principles. Some of those principles are things such as having a higher power or a God of your understanding. Of course, like I said, my higher power happens to be Christ Jesus. However, there are programs out there that are spiritual in nature that are derived from programs such as AA and NA, like my father was talking about. And I would suggest that you find you one that holds fast to the ideas of things such as prayer and meditation, because one of the main things that the programs out there, support groups, can offer you is a relationship with a higher power or God. Because this is something that you cannot overcome. We cannot overcome on our own. So if it's a program out there that offers these type of approaches to where they are spiritual in nature, because at the very core of this addiction, this sickness, all of this stuff is spiritual in nature. So you're going to have to get to the root of it, which at the very core of it is spiritual in nature. Mm-hmm. So, this is something that I would say that you need to find you something that also has a holistic approach, okay? Because, you have to take into consideration the spiritual nature of things such as addiction when you're, approaching some type of getting some type of help. So, the outside of that, I would say to make sure that you get a trained and competent professional, because not all professionals are aware of or even consider things that we're talking about tonight, such as, the correlation of addiction and addiction and child abuse. So, so they won't even have a proper intake or assessment. So you need to have a trained and competent professional and someone who's professional enough to do you no harm and refer you to someone who's equipped if they are not. That's all I have to say right now.
That's really good. And I do, my husband, Lloyd B., is... he's so modest that he's not going to mention his book, but he is a published author as well. Clean and Serene is the name of his book, A Spiritual Meditation to Recovery. Is that right? Did I say it right?
Yes. Okay, Clean and
wonderful.
Serene. Yes, Clean and Serene and it's available on Amazon as well. And it is a scriptural meditations, as I said before, and it's a tool and a resource for those who are in recovery. Check it out.
Wonderful. Last thing that I wanted to say is if you go to www.samhsa.gov, that's samhsa.gov, you'll find a lot of information about what we've talked about today, the ACE reports, and also in my book as well about the ACE study and all of the statistics that we talked about and more. All right, Lloyd B., you want to take us out?
Yes.
I'm sorry. She did say Lloyd B., didn't she? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Lloyd B.
One other thing before we close out is that we both had mentioned the National Institute of Drug Abuse, where you can also find a lot of information. So that's another resource that you can find reports as well as notes and different resources that may be available. And that's the National Institute of Drug Abuse online. It's You can find information there. Yeah, we want to thank you all for joining us tonight during our special premiere broadcast. You can meet my father and I, the host of Recovery Just for Today, every Monday night at 8 p.m. That's every Monday night at 8 p.m. And you can meet Minister Annie Bell, the host of I.R.E.I.G.N, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on the We Inspire Network Radio. So just come out and join us as we come together to inspire others to win. God bless you all.
God bless y'all. Bye-bye, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
We Inspire Network. We it's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We Inspire Network. We it's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We Inspire Network. 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 We it's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We Inspire Network. We it's not your ordinary radio station. The home